In the name of continuity and the name of my last name, which is Beers. Yes. We did a Beers with Beers last night. Beers with Beers stream, and my bird bit me on the nose a week ago, by the way. It's not a zit. It's the Wrath of Cleo. Forgot to put a cover up on it today, so you just have to look at it. Sorry. I'm all right. I'm okay. It was my fault. I snuck up on her. Sometimes give her a little nose nuzzle right on the wing there. She's usually good with that, but I think I snuck up on her, so she got me. But yes, welcome to Starry Wisdom Sunday. We did a late night stream last night. It was midnight for me and early morning for some people in Europe and stuff. And I called it Beers with Beers since I'm David Beers and I was drinking beers. So I just thought I'd, again, in the name of continuity, this is End of Ice and Fire part 2, if you will. End of Ice and Fire predictions. So what we're doing today is I'm taking questions on anything you want to know about the end of the story. And this is the most asked question that I get by far. How do you think the story is going to end? Or some more specific question, do you think Theon will be, rule the Iron Islands or anything like that? So basically, if you guys want to, I can tell you what I think will happen with pretty much any character. So if you want to send in a super chat or a PayPal, that is a guaranteed way to get your question and character to the top of the list. Otherwise, I'll be picking them out through the chat, and we'll just go, character by character. And in my own sort of ADD way, I will sidetrack as need be into other characters. But yeah, we had a great time last night. You'll definitely want to go back and watch that stream if you missed it. I'm going to try not to cover the same ground today so that you guys watching on the rewatch will have different conversations. But even with the characters that we brought up, like we talked a bunch about Sam writing down all the information that Bran gets out of the Weirwood net. So we won't talk about that today, but there are other Sam questions that we could talk about today. So that's kind of what we're doing. Yes. It ends with a field or city of the dead, Adrian Burchell says. Oh, so it's very Norse then, very Norse. Just the Valkyries wandering the field. Yeah, it's definitely going to be some of that vibe going on. I think that won't be the very end of the book, but we'll definitely have some empty battlefields of the dead with the crows and ravens circling about. Yeah, we'll definitely get some vibes there for sure. So hey everyone, I see everyone tuning in, saying hello. Hello, friends. Good question. I don't know how to change names. The champion of Fagon, or Trugon, as he would say, but Fagon, as the rest of us say. So, yeah, Sam is probably losing weight, actually. The thing is, he starts off like really fat. So he's probably just kind of fat now. I have to imagine he's been getting his exercise, been going on. I mean, you go on a ranging in the frozen deadlands and try to keep up your weight, you'll lose some weight, I would say. So, he's also been training in the yard, even though he's not martial, he has been training. So I have to think that Sam is actually losing weight. And not only that, but Sam is very strong. There are a few moments when we see that Sam is very strong, like when he fights Small Paul the White, for example. So I think George is actually sneaking up with Sam. By the time we get to the end of his story, he's actually going to be capable of like some pretty burly shit, I bet. And it will be a nice, pleasant kind of like, oh, look at Sam. But yeah, he is strong. He's tapped into his courage and he's finding himself now. So yeah, being a sailor sounds like a good point. I forgot all about that. It's very hard work, indeed. Gilly's giving him exercise. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so no, Sam's probably losing weight. He's definitely finding his inner Sam. So, and remember, Sam is very much an copy or echo of Heimdall from Norse mythology. And Heimdall, he's a fearsome fellow. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of him. He's kind of got that horned lord thing going on. Oh yeah, I've got 2 pictures I can open. And Heimdall lives in a castle at the base of the Bifrost Bridge, which is the wall is the version of the Bifrost Bridge in A Song of Ice and Fire. So you see Sam living at a fortress at the base of the wall. It's a very good correlation to Heimdallr. So here is the picture. This is not the one I was looking for, but it'll work. So here, share screen window. It's called Highway to Asgard. Let me give you the artist's name. By Trishkel, and I'll blow it up there. Boop. So you can see he's a horned lord. He's ripped. He's ready to defend. He's ready to throw down at Ragnarok, you know. So I do think Sam is growing into a more powerful character, and it is kind of sneaking up. So good question. I like that one. That was good. Very good, very good. Sam the Slayer. Yeah. All right. So, and yes, Horn of Winter. It's right there. Obviously, the Horn of Winter and Heimdallr's horn is very much like that's a thing. I owe you guys a good horn episode here coming soon. Where's my horn? Where did I put it? Got a bloody horn sitting around here. I don't know what to do with it. It's my meat of poetry horn. Oh, I think I took it in the other room. Sorry, guys. Never mind. Got a little sidetracked. All right. So who do you want to hear about, guys? Ends of Ice and Fire predictions. Let me pull up my email too, so I can see these PayPals as they come in. Friends, this just says something about me authorizing a payment to DoorDash for my lunch today. No, that's not a question. There you go. Yeah, lunch was good, overpriced, but there it is. So everyone's screaming for Euron. So of course, Euron is, I do have extensive Euron endgame theories on my video. So you've got I'm on my channel, sorry. So I got a whole playlist for Euron. So I don't want to go into that too much. I do think, like I said last night, I think he will rule atop the High Tower. I think he will be crowned King of Westeros in Old Town, as many Targaryen kings were. And I think he will, manipulate the Citadel, maybe string a couple of them up by their feet out the window, I was saying. And he'll basically turn into Saruman on top of the High Tower, ruling from Old Town for most of the next book. So that is what we're going to see in the next book. And eventually, I do think he's going to end up as a fulcrum for the return of Azor High Knight's King's spirit, which is inside the Weirwood net. The more I think about that idea, the more attached I am to it. So that is now my headcanon, and Euron is going to be a doormat for reincarnated Night King. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Elisa Patience, what up? Shout out to Elisa Patience, who has her own awesome YouTube channel showing some of the fairy tale correlations in A Song of Ice and Fire. If I'm doing the mythology, she's doing the fairy tales. And, of course, that's a very blurred line, but a lot of the Grimm's Tales, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, all kinds of good stuff. So check out Elisa Patience's channel under the same name, self-titled, if you will. Is Tyrion going to be more good or bad by the end? I think he's going darker, at least for a while. No doubt. George talks about him as a villain. Yep, no problem. You deserve the shout out. Been working hard there. Love to see people starting YouTube channels and raising them up from the ground. It's a beautiful thing. So, yes, Tyrion is getting darker, but he's going to become like kind of amoral, like a true Loki chaos agent. He's going to end up being the best chaos agent in the books. Right now, Peter Baelish or Varys is probably the best trickster figure. But I do believe that original Night's King was that character. And I do believe that Tyrion is going to be that kind of dude. So if you think about Sun Wukong, the monkey demon king from Chinese mythology, if you haven't watched my Tyrion Targaryen Bloodstone episode, Bloodstone Compendium podcast from like 5 years ago, go check that out. I read all of Journey to the West and digested all of the Sun Wukong stuff. And it was really cool. Basically, the whole point of George calling Tyrion a monkey demon, such as he does like 4 times in the book, is to point us towards Sun Wukong, the monkey demon king. And the thing about Sun Wukong, besides he's very powerful and collects battle weapons everywhere from dragons of the different seas and stuff, is that he is kind of like I said, amoral. He's very much a trickster. He's a monkey demon king. And he basically invades heaven or hell when he needs to. And he causes chaos in both places. So he's so chaos that like neither heaven or hell can fuck with him. They're both terrified of him. After he kills everyone in hell, somebody from hell, and it's not really hell, it's the underworld, whatever. But after he goes down to the world of the dead and makes the Lord of the Dead erase names from the book of his followers. Then the Lord of the Dead goes to heaven and complains. He's like, this demon king is just, he's erased names from the book of the dead. And it's a big, we got to do something. So Sun Wukong needs to be corralled from like every angle. And that's kind of like Tyrion. Like, he's going to be on Dany's side, but that's really only a matter of convenience for him. He's not really loyal to anyone. He's driven by rage. We made a joke last night. So if I do a Tyrion character study, it will be full of rage and strategy, the Tyrion Lannister story, because that's what he is. He's got all the inside info on Casterly Rock and the Lords of Westeros and everything else. But he is also full of rage. So you might see him doing something that Dany's not proud of in Dany's name that causes a friction there. He's definitely not going to be the good angel on Dany's shoulder like he was in the show. That was absolute garbage. It's going to be a darker character, and it might make us uncomfortable, I would say. But he's going to be very powerful, too. Think of him in King's Landing in the second book, how powerful he was with his strategy and his string pulling. Multiply that by a factor, add dragons and Daenerys, and like I said, rage, and that will be Tyrion's arc. So I'm actually really excited. It's going to be probably some of the best stuff to read, because those Tyrion chapters in books 2 and 3 were just amazing. Oh, and Isabel's asking about Penny. I don't have an answer for that. What is the role of Penny? Is she just going to be probably? I don't know that she's going to be in Tyrion's story forever. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe she will. Maybe she'll continue to be a foil. I do enjoy their dynamic a lot. I don't know that they're going to like friggin' yeah, let's do that. Let me just fix that real quick. Make Lauren's Corner a mod. I will do that. You've been mod hammered, Lauren's Corner. And if you didn't hear, Lauren's Corner and I are going to do video live stream probably in 2 to 3 weeks about all the Scottish cultural influences on like the Starks in the North, sort of a companion to my Norse stuff. She proposed the idea in the chat last night. I thought it was a great idea. So I'm going to take her up on it. So Lauren from Lauren's Corner, that's her YouTube channel, Lauren's Corner. You can find all kinds of cool stuff there, Song of Ice and Fire and poetry and other stuff. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so these, actually, let's call these mod wrenches, let's call them breastplate stretchers. I see you called it a spanner. Let's call them breastplate stretchers from now on. So let it be done. Anyways, yeah, so, oh my God, a Scot with a spanner. That's cool. Yeah, and Lauren's going to help me work on my Scottish accent, which sounds more Irish, I'm told. I'm better at Monty Python accents than real ones. Okay, so I've got 2 super chats coming in. Thank you, guys. Smith Crazy. I guess that's Smitty's crazy cousin, something. Thoros. Okay, so good question. And then I see you, Marlo, just sent one in too. So I do love a good Pilsner, not the cheap Pilsner. If you've only ever drinking cheap Pilsner, you know, like get you some Scrimshaw, you know, I like the like your Kolsch kind of stuff, you know, your what am I trying to say? The Czechoslovakian Pilsner. That's the good stuff. Okay, so where are we talking about? Thoros. Where's Thoros? Thoros, the pink priest. He is bedraggled and down in the Weirwood Cave. He is kind of the voice of the Brotherhood Without Banners, telling Brienne how they've lost their way and how they found a dark place. I would like to see him find a brighter place and come back out into the sun. I feel like that would make sense. So if you checked out Lady Stoneheart Winds of Winter predictions video Quinn and I did, we talked about Stoneheart being concerned with engineering family duty honor, right, for the Tullys. So think about what that means to Catelyn. She's mourning the Red Wedding and the death of her family, but both Riverrun and Winterfell are being held by imposters, right? The Freys hold Riverrun and the Boltons hold Winterfell. And so Catelyn Tully, family duty honor, I see her helping to engineer the retaking of those 2 castles, at least Riverrun. That is clear that she is engineering some sort of Red Wedding event, some sort of massacre, some sort of thing that's going to involve manipulating Jaime, who's now in the cave, to help open the gates and get them river run back. So after that, I guess what I'm saying is I think Thoros could be involved in that. It'd be really cool too if you saw a redux of Pike. Remember, Thoros was first through the breach at Pike with his flaming sword, followed by Robert Baratheon. Symbolism, titles. So I'd like to see Thoros bust out the flaming sword and help retake River Run. I think that would be cool. Why not, right? As a writer, Thoros is a great character. He's not someone you just throw away. So I think that would be a good one. And then let's see here. And then the next super chat came from. There's no R in super chat, by the way. It's just super chat, like Superfly. Oh no, I'm sorry. I'll get you, Brendan. I'm trying to go in order though. Let me go back. Here you go, Marla. That's what I was looking for. Where did the rest of Nissa go? George is fond of the shadow self. All her good went into Lightbringer. Where did her bad go? Boom, Knight's Queen, sort of like the Nern Queen. Okay, yeah, I think you mean Norn Queen, but it could be Nern. I don't know my memory of Star with Thorn very well, but if it's Nern, then it's a modified version of Norn. So whatever. Yeah, that's really good, Marla. I do like that. So we have been trying to suss out the connection between Knight's Queen and Nissa. Nissa seems to identify with what we've been calling the Fire Moon Queens or the Fire Moon Maidens, whereas your Knight's Queen template lines up with, Val and Lyanna and other ice-associated women. Visenya is one of my favorite ice queens. And so, so if I'm unsure if how much the magic sword was involved, like the real Lightbringer that was created with Nissa's death was the Weirwood Net Fire of the Gods. That's really what Azor Ahai was after. I'm starting to feel like, and sorry, a little itchy mustache. And so it seems like, okay, the connection between Knight's Queen and Nissa, they seem like parallel figures. They could be the same person post-transformation, right? Knight's Queen could be dead Nissa, absolutely. Or more like what Marla's saying, some part of Nissa. Kind of like we see with our whites and stuff. There's only like part of them there. So there could be a bifurcation. I've seen signs of a bifurcation. We've talked about that. And so what it could be is that, yes, Nissa is killed. Her spirit, her mana or something goes into Lightbringer or into, just into the spells to break the moon or whatever. But then the remnant of her is definitely inside the Weirwood Net. That's where it goes. There's no question about that. So the question really is the Knight's Queen just an emanation from the Weirwood Net? Is that just deadness and Nissa's spirit incorporating into the real world? Or even, is it possible that Night's King, when he went north of the wall and found Night's Queen, maybe he didn't go north of the wall, maybe he went inside the Weirwood Net, actually. So I think that's a possibility. But yes, Night's Queen is absolutely the shadow self of Nissa in some sense. That seems very true. So good. It's a good intuition there, Marla. And guys, let me go turn my bird light off. My parrots are squeaky. I'm going to shut the curtains and shut it down. So give me like just 2 seconds. And yeah, be right back. And we're back. All right. So, Brendan of House Stark, what endgame do you see for Rickon and Shireen? Everybody says they will die, but I can hope, can't I? And is Rickon a green seer? Well, he's definitely a powerful skin changer. And I believe that the younger, that's a cool avatar, by the way. I really like that. It looks almost like grown-up King Bran with the King of Winter crown or something. Or maybe is that Rob? I don't know. That's cool. Yeah, I guess that would probably be a Rob one. That's cool. I think that the younger a skin changer or green seer gets started, the more powerful they could potentially be. Also, the more screwed up they can be. And ultimately, Rickon feels a lot like a young Varamir Sixskins. If you read Varamir's origin story of him as a young kid, accidentally killing his brother by warging into the family dog, you know, like it just sounds similar to me. Rickon's been abandoned the same way Varamir has, basically. I mean, he does have Osha the Wildling. That's basically, guys, Osha the Wildling is our only hope for any sort of like sane Rickon at all. And she's pretty tough. She's pretty cool. She's pretty smart, pretty intuitive, actually. So maybe he won't be a total mess, but we'll have to see. He is on Skagos, and he's undergone, like all the Stark kids. He's gone through a lot of trauma. So he's definitely going to be wild. I'd expect to see him powerful, raw sort of ability. Best case scenario for Rickon is when Arya comes back and takes charge of the wolf pack. Maybe if Rickon is still alive, maybe Arya takes Rickon under her wing a little bit with all the wolf stuff. But he may not survive that long. Definitely, I think Rickon has a role as a sort of political football, if you will. The Manderleys and Boltons and Stannis and other northern powers. He's a Stark heir, so that makes an alternate claim to the Boltons. So that's a key political purpose that he's obviously going to serve. So there's a few different ways Rickon can go. But I just had that idea, to be honest, that Rickon could get absorbed into Arya's like wolf pack. Either, what if it would happen after he died? What if Rickon died and went into Shaggy Dog, and then Shaggy Dog joins Nymeria's pack? And that way Rickon does die, but we get a little like kind of, revenge of Rickon. That could be cool too. So there you go. I just threw out 2 new ideas for you. I feel creative today. Thanks, Brendan. Good question. Who wrote the pink letter? Thoros wrote the pink letter. Thank you. I've been trying to answer that question forever. Now I don't have to answer it every time. I'm just going to say Thoros. Cool. Glad you like it. I need a mint too. I'm totally out of mints. I need some mints. Let's see here. I know I'm going back for a super chat that I missed, guys. Sorry, bear with me. I don't want to let them go by. So there was Zach's and Sean's. Those are the ones I want. Yes. Okay. So Sean says, finally catching the first stream. Oh, cool, man. Yes. Welcome, Sean. This is where we have the fun. You're inside the party now. You're in the secret club. Your channel is the last thing keeping me invested in the series while waiting for wins. Well, I'm trying to hold it down. I am one of the last bastions of raw enthusiasm, just blind optimism. I think that we'll get wins soon. I think George is actually going to finish the series. Maybe. I think he will. So, yeah, and really, of course, once you hang around here long enough, you realize that really we're talking about mythology and symbolism. And this is basically, Song of Ice and Fire is just a vehicle for talking about these deeper subjects. So there you go. Yes, Jilly is an ice queen, absolutely. And a gillyflower is a thing. It ties into the flower symbolism of some of the other moon maidens. So kind of like Lyanna's winter rose, the gillyflower, I think it either grows in the north or it's sometimes white or blue. I'm sorry, I forget. There's mythology behind it. But there is an implication of cold and the north with the gillyflower. So it ties her into the blue winter roses symbolism. And obviously, as the wife of Craster and the mother of children that are supposed to be given to the others, makes her a very direct parallel to Night's Queen. Targaryen Ice Queens are the best. Shara Seastar. Yeah, that's a good question. She has 1 blue eye and 1 green eye. So, let's think about that. Okay, this is hot. So this is totally, Shara's hot, by the way. But this is a Nissa Night's Queen scenario, isn't it? 1 green eye and 1 blue eye. Isn't that showing us like a green woman going into the icy part of the Weirwood net, or even the Weirwood net turning icy if you see Nissa as an avatar for the Weirwoods, which is a thing. So Shara Seastar is an obvious Aphrodite reference because, of course, you guys know the legend of Aphrodite, or Oranos's balls are chopped off and it falls into the sea foam, and from the sea foam arises Aphrodite. It's really just talking about Venus, the morning star, which sometimes descends into the horizon or the ocean if you're near the ocean, and then in the morning rises from the horizon or from the ocean. And so Shiera Sea Star, the most, one of the most beautiful women of her day, she's an Aphrodite figure, and the Sea Star name simply ties her to that falling, the idea of a star falling into the sea, rising from the sea. So the Aphrodite stuff, that's obviously Lightbringer, Venus, all of that ball of symbolism. So it's a very important line of symbolism. And so, yeah, I would say that Shiera Sea Star is essentially showing us something about Nissa potentially becoming icy with the one blue eye. And if you think about her as the mate of Bloodraven, who is a green seer, that it really does kind of work out there, doesn't it? Yeah. And then there's also the fact that in Dothraki, Sharakia is Bleeding Star. And I believe, I always forget which word is which, if there's a Dothraki expert in the chat. But I think that Shiera is the one that means star. So her name is like Star Sea Star, actually. And if it's not, it would be Bleeding Sea Star. So it's one of those two. There you go. There's your Shiera Sea Star action. Glad you liked it. All right. So what's next? Rickon King in the North. I don't think so. I think that'll be John will be the next King in the North. Hendrick's shirt. Oh yeah, it's the full deal. I was looking for this. This one was in the wash for the counterculture stream, so I didn't wear it. I wore my tie dye, but here you go. Yeah, I know. Sorry, it's definitely early for me to drink beer, but continuity demanded it. Do the oily black stones have anything to do with the seasons being thrown off? And if so, what can be done in the end to get the seasons back on track? So I can only talk about this vaguely. I'm not sure exactly how Martin is thinking about this. However, it seems obvious that the seasons were thrown off during the Long Night event. The Long Night event is an unmooring of the world, of the celestial axis, of the cosmic framework. And those black stones are almost certainly tied to the meteorites. I tend to think about it as not necessarily a meteorite itself, but when meteors hit the Earth, what they actually do is vaporize all the soil and rock that's on the top layer, and the material of the meteor, the material of the Earth, they fuse in different ways depending on what elements it hits at. So all that oily black stone at Asshai, I tend to think about that as like magically toxic. So picture the main meteor landing in Asshai, for example, in Stygai or whatever. From its evil, it's corrupt magic. So it's leaking out into the entire Shadowlands Peninsula. That's why it's shadowed and evil and weird and stuff. It's because it literally has a Lovecraftian color out of space type of meteor, not the movie, the book. The movie's horrible. Alpacas. So that's what you should think about is the meteor it turns all the land into black, oily shit. And the stone that's already there turns into black, oily stone. So, for example, I've often said in the Great Empire of the Dawn video and elsewhere, Asshai is probably not built out of oily black stone because it's so effing big. It's the biggest city in the world by factor of 4. It can combine like Valentis and Karth and 3 other cities and still be bigger and whatever. So makes more sense that that was built out of normal stone when there was lots of people there and it was a nice place to live and it wasn't all spooky. And then you have a disaster that literally turns the stone into greasy stone. Makes a lot more sense than building a city out of greasy stone. There's only like a few sorcerers there doing all the dark magic, so you just don't need a big city for that. Point being, it does have something to do with the seasons because the meteors that's the crux of the long night mechanism. I've got further ideas about the moons themselves. If we had 2 moons, kind of makes sense they'd be ice and fire moons, right? And then all the moon maidens in the story tend to go towards ice or fire pretty strongly. So it just kind of led me to think probably we have one moon that is tied to ice magic and one to fire magic. And if one of them gets busted up, then maybe that screws up the seasons, because maybe in a magical world like Planetos, the seasons are governed by these two, I'm not doing very good orbits today, by the two moons. And so the fire moon, which maybe was tied to summer or whatever, it's busted up, and now it's parts of its corpse are on Planetos, right? The meteorites fell to Planetos. So there's a couple of problems there. We want the fire moon healthy and in the sky to make the seasons turn properly, and it's not anymore. And it's also infected, and it's also on the earth, and it's corrupting the earth where it lands, where it exists. So I'm not sure how we fix that. And yes, Dune had 2 moons. Dune actually used to have 3 moons, and one of them got busted by a comet. That is deep, deep Dune world building lore that I uncovered on Wikipedia one time. So there's more there. But in any case, I think that the moons are tied to the seasons. How to get those back on track is going to be, we're going to break the other moon, actually. What's going to happen is the ice moon, if you will. I believe that George would be conceiving of it as modeled after the real ice moons in our galaxy, like Europa. And ice moons are always the same. It's basically a rocky moon with a global ocean of either very cold water or liquid methane, and then an icy rocky crust around it. So I'm imagining, if you want to get technical, imagine the ice moon losing its crust and its ice and ending up just a barren rock. Then Planetos would have a rocky moon, just like Earth. Okay, maybe this is ancient Earth or something. And then we would have less magic in the world. Both moons are broken. The magic is gone now, and there's just one moon. You need one moon to keep the planet from like tilting over. So we can't completely destroy the other moon. So I think we'll get a partial moon apocalypse to cause the new long night. There's the answer. I need to wet my whistle after that one. Thank you, Zach. Good question. I'd like to see Arya give her the gift of mercy. I think that would be the most poetic. How will Lady Stoneheart be destroyed is the question from Alan Thompson. I think that would make the most sense. But maybe she'll pass her flame of life on to Brienne or Jaime if somebody gets hurt in there. If there's like a duel, a forced sword fight in the cave, maybe one of them dies and becomes whited. That's outside possibility. Guilty Undertaker, was Lightbringer a literal sword or just what Azor Ahai call it? Oh my, what is this filth? Guilty Undertaker, you almost made me read that. That would have been horrible. I think that comment was from like 20 minutes ago too, but whatever. I just saw it now. Okay, Sean Sweeney, I see yours. I'm going back to see if there's any others I missed, because once they get past them, then they're hard to find. Okay, I think that's just Sean's that I need to get. Okay, so Sean says, and then I'll check the PayPals. Do you think we'll get a POV in Asshai or Yin in the main story? And will they affect the battle with the White Walkers? I'm hoping we go east. So what you need is a video that I haven't made yet about how Dany is going to get her hands on a glass candle. Marwyn the Mage has got his hands on all the glass candle inventory. And we see the one in his chambers burning, but then we see him ball out. He doesn't take that one, but we know that the Citadel has other ones. So to me, it makes sense that he's, on his way to the last battle. He's obviously going to bring one of the glass candles. The Citadel's not using them. They're just in a cabinet somewhere, So the candle is a powerful tool. It's Dany's birthright, really, as a Valyrian. And it's so useful to Marwyn. Like, he needs to keep tabs on Westeros, both Old Town and the Wall, and he's sailing to Meereen. So there's like literally 0% chance that Marwyn did not bring a candle with him to Slaver's Bay. He's had plenty of time to get there, so he could literally pop up anytime in Slaver's Bay. He will have a glass candle, and he is trying to help Daenerys see that she needs to fight the others. Those are his goals. So what I think is that George originally said he was going to go to Asshai, and presumably that's the Quaithes, to go north, you must go south thing. Go to Asshai before Westeros. George said he flat out changed his mind, take too long, decided against it. And so the thing is that in the first books, Quaithe is constantly talking about this truth that waits for Dany and Asshai. So what is that truth? Dany still has to get that truth. So you can see where this is going. She's going to visit via glass candle. She's going to use the glass candle in Slaver's Bay or wherever. She'll be able to connect with Quaithe. She might be able to find her own information outside of the purview of Quaithe. I definitely think there's a good chance that she could see those gemstone emperors, the great empire of the Dawn emperors that she saw in a Game of Thrones at the climax of her Wake the Dragon dream. So very much looking forward to Dany getting the glass candle. That is how we will see Asshai. It also makes a ton more sense from a narrative, like a writer's point of view. Asshai is creepy, mysterious. You don't want to ever reveal too much of a place like that. So if you sail there and you're looking for a hotel, it's sort of, it strips the mystery away. So Dany floating in a glass candle vision and seeing the weird temple or some shit. Now that just builds up the mystique of Asshai instead of revealing it. So I think that makes a lot more sense. Glass candle vision of Asshai and the gemstone emperors for Dany. Book it. That one, I guarantee you that's going to happen. And you did hear that here first, years and years ago. That one's definitely mine. I don't think anyone's even tried to take that, but that's definitely mine. Sorry, I'll stop sounding like a 5-year-old with his toy. Yeah. All right. Let's do check the email here. Mark B. Thank you, Mark. Mark Daniel, actually. What do you think is going to happen to the Giants? Keep up the good hard work. Well, let's see. Are there any left? Is it just poetic well, no, Woon is there. Yeah, I guess there's more Giants. I don't know. I mean, they'll probably fade away with the other magical creatures, but we'll get some more fun giant action. I loved Woon, fucking shit up there at Castle Black. So we could see more of that. Could definitely see a giant or two fighting the others. That, in fact, I would say that's a certainty. Why wouldn't you do that? The Giants were involved in the original, fight against the others probably. So yeah, I would say we'll get like Woon as yeah, there you go. Woon will be one of Jon's 13. That makes sense, actually. So I very much think Jon will go on a last hero mission north of the wall with a group of 12 people. And they might not all be dead, but some of them might be. And I think that it makes sense to have Leathers and Woon on that crew. I mean, if I'm going north with only 13, with a baker's dozen, I'm definitely taking the giant and the weapons master who can talk to the giant. This is a fantasy novel, right? So there you go. That's what I got for you. Yeah, if you want to start speculating on who they will all be, I think Jaime will be there for sure. Good question. Avi Moses says, what do you think the meaning of the first sin is? One way I can think of it as a stay out of what is others message, but while that's a good message, I don't really, okay, I'm sorry. Let me just read this and process this real quick. Okay, so this is in response to something I said last night, I believe. I talked about Azor Ahai's invasion of the Weirwood Net as the original sin of the story. And I believe that this metaphorically you can see, or thematically, I'm sorry, you can see it echoed in the prologue with Waymar. The whole story of the prologue is Waymar pushing into the woods against all caution. The trees are scraping at him. The two seasoned rangers are like, dude, we should go back. And he's like, no, headstrong, no fear, like Night's King, heedless, invading the wood, forcing his way in, and then he forces the others to manifest. This is an echo of what Azor Ahai did, his original sin, murdering Nissa, who, in case you didn't know, child of the forest, already tied to the weirwoods. So Azor Ahai trying to get into the weirwoods. He's not a green seer, essentially. So he's breaking in to the weirwoods. And I believe he did this by murdering a child of the forest or a green man woman. Saying green woman sounds, it doesn't like you. For some reason, I always have to say green man woman, but whatever. Green woman, something like that. Some sort of weirwood woman. Azor Ahai kills her, invades the weirwood net. It's very like Thistle and Varamir. Varamir invades Thistle, kills her, gives her the weirwood stigmata, the bloody eyes and the bloody mouth, and then bounces right into the weirwood tree. So that's the echo. So this original sin is one of mankind invading nature. It's being at war with nature. And that theme you can see through the whole book. I mean, that is very clear. So that's the way to think about it. It's kind of an environmentalism thing, but it's really about peaceful cohabitation versus imposing your will by force on nature or on another person. So that is the theme of the original sin. I love you all too. Thank you very much. Feeling the love. Lots and lots lately. So I appreciate that. I almost double clicked and then coughed right into the mic, but I didn't. Megan, I love all your work. Thanks for what you do. Sansa, yes, I did get Sansa questions. Will she tap into her skin changer abilities before the end? Well, that's a good question. I mostly talk about Sansa skin changing to swat down the bad theories about her like psychically controlling men with skin changer power that she's never manifested. Bad theory, down theory, bad. Okay. However, she does have that ability latently in her. In order for it to come out, she would really need to be, yeah, Elisa, you haven't heard that? They've been calling me Lucci for a while now. Lucy or Lucci. I'm not sure how people say it, but I get both. Yeah. So she would need, like, it seems the warg skin changing ability seems to come out when you're around animals like direwolves. I don't think that the Starks were all born with skin changer power that the previous generations didn't have. Probably Lyanna and all of them had the latent ability too, and they were never around direwolves. So instead, Brandon and Lyanna were just really fucking good at riding horses, like centaurs, right? Or like half centaurs, which would just make you a person because a centaur is already half person. But anyway, so for Sansa, according to this line of thinking, she would need to be around magical animals. However, maybe some ravens can show up in the Eyrie. Maybe Bran will get in contact with Sansa. Because remember, Bran awakens Jon's power in that dream. When he appears as a tree growing from a stone. Is that a meteor stone under the tree? Oh, I don't know. So Bran was a weirwood tree, and he booped Jon Snow on the forehead, opened his third eye, and then Jon had his first like big skin changing experience. So I could definitely see that happening with Sansa. Bran could reach out to Sansa. You know, Bran will be trying to sort of collect the Starks together here at the end of the story. So yeah, I could see her sending some ravens and maybe helping Sansa awaken her gifts that way. And I could see Sansa with raven. I mean, all the little bird symbolism, right? That would make a lot of sense if she was skin changing birds. But I think they would need to be ravens. You know, because and no, she doesn't skin change the fucking mule. Stop. No. You can tell when skin changing is happening. It doesn't secretly happen. It doesn't. Like, you could tell. Sorry, but no. She wasn't skin changing the mule. Mules aren't magical. That's not how her skin changing powers are going to awaken. Riding a fucking mule, it's going to happen when Bran comes to her in a dream and boops her on the forehead and some ravens start flying or something magical like that. Come on now. Work with me here. I'm not really mad. I'm just trying to be funny. So it's all good. Let's see here. So another question about Sansa. Let me grab this one from Twitter. Talk Studios. I have pent up Sansa animosity that you're tapping into. So please don't take offense. Like, by the way, Talk Studios is my homie. Check out his YouTube channel for marijuana talk, pot talk, if you will. But yes, the killing of Lady absolutely affected. No, I don't think it affected Sansa's ability to warg long term, but it just made it so that it never came out because she wasn't around her direwolf long enough. If she had been, then it would have developed, but it didn't. So it's still latent within her. I don't think it's compromised. It just needs a magical animal or some sort of magical encouragement to come out based on everything we've seen in the story, I would say. Let me see here. I retweeted. Okay. So there's Warren's. And yeah, it was Jonas. No, that was the Stannis question. Okay, so the whoever asked the Sansa question on Twitter, I forgot. But essentially it was just, how do you think the Winged Knights are going to come into play? Because they've gone to all this trouble to create this pseudo Kingsguard of the Winged Knights, right? Well, I think the Winged Knights are very symbolic of others, just like the Kingsguard and the Rainbow Guard. And so we've talked a lot about how flying is a metaphor for the Green Seers, right? Bran is falling in his dream, and he has to try to fly in order to not die. What is he falling towards? These icy spires with other dreamers, the impaled bodies of other dreamers. So you kind of see this split here inside of the Weirwood net. Some Green Seers fly and become Green Seers. Some fall and become others, if you will. And then you look at the Moon Door in the Eyrie, and they're pushing people out of this ice castle through a Weirwood door. That's more the same stuff. That's falling and becoming otherized. When they're all jumping out of the burning stairway at the wall during the Battle of Castle Black, there's more of that shit there too. So the question was, the Winged Knights. So the Winged Knights are like others. So the whole idea of a Winged Knight is like, think of Bran in the dream, but instead of, he's trying to fly, but he can't. So they're Winged Knights that like can't fly. They fell instead of flying, and they became otherized. I think that's what we're going to see. Or maybe Sansa will turn it around, and we'll see symbolism of the others like being healed or going back into the trees or something. And we'll see the otherized Winged Knights actually fly or something like that. But it's a commentary about the others first and foremost. So then when we're talking about the actual plot purpose, I think they are created to do the same kind of shit that the Kingsguard does, meaning political machinations. You know, at some point, Sansa might be opposing Peter Baelish. It could be Sansa and Harry the Heir. If Sansa is able to finish, manipulating and controlling Harry, like I think she's on the way to, she could be using Harry to help her stand up to Peter. And the Wicked Knights could figure in that. They could figure in however Robin Arryn is probably going to die, so Robin, we got a tragedy coming there as well. So it's just part of the political machinations. We've got these lords in the Vale. We've got the Winged Knights. We've got Peter and Sansa and Harry, Maya Stone, and the Royces, Miranda Royce. So I can't predict how that's all going to combust. Oh, and let's not forget Sir Shadrick the Mad Mouse. Shout out to my friend Shad, who was on the American Counterculture live stream last week. Oh, very cool. Adrian says the Winged Knights are based on the Winged Hussars of Poland. That's good trivia. That's definitely the kind of thing that George goes for. He loves, that's right in the pocket of his history that he likes. So that totally makes sense. Yeah, Miranda Royce is awesome. She's definitely dope. Okay, so back over to Twitter. There was a couple more questions that were good. Jonas says, or probably Jonas actually, if a lot of people think Stannis the Manus isn't going to live much longer, do you think Davos makes it back in time to see Stannis one last time? What or who will Davos serve when Stannis falls? So Stannis seems like the whole thing with Stannis is that if Shireen's going to die, probably killed by Mel and Selyse, Stannis needs to live long enough to absorb that reality because he's in part responsible for it. So I think that means he will survive and probably win the Battle of Winterfell make it back up to the wall to see this happen. Not to see it happen, but to see that it has happened. I don't think he'll be there when it happens. And sorry, guys. So I think Warren Tarbiat piped in with a good idea. He says, I'm of the opinion that Stannis will become the second Night's King. Just too many Night's King references and Donald Noyes break before he bends seems to scream that Stannis will break mentally after the death of Shireen and truly become Azor Ahai reborn as a Night's King, as an evil figure. Somebody else suggested that Stannis might go nuts and like execute a whole bunch of people or something like that. I can see that happening, but I think his story will be done essentially once he understands what has happened to Shireen. That's the major thing that needs to happen. But maybe he'll continue to live longer. I don't think he'll become an actual Night's King, only symbolic, but I could be wrong. Cool. Oh, so it was My Name is Greg rhymes with egg who asked about the Winged Knights. So shout out. Very good. Okay. And yes, Andrea, my faithful organizational goddess friend, reminds me to tell you that if you signed up for the Paradise Gained email list, the link is below in the description, and did not get mailed the first chapter text last week or 2 weeks ago, I think it was, then that means something was wrong with your email address. We had a few that bounced. So if you signed up for that list and you haven't gotten the first chapter, sign up again, make sure your email is right, or check your spam folder. And if that doesn't work, let me know. We'll see what's up. Henbot asks, am I sure it's heading to the end of Magic? No, I'm not sure. I think it's likely, but not certain. Fantasy does that a lot. George says he subverts things and said that Magic will escalate. Well, it's clearly escalating. So you're saying that Rebirth of Magic in World adds more logic to Bran as a king. So that's the thing, is I don't think Bran is going to be a magical king. I think he's going to download the Weirwood net and basically have all that info in his head, but then be disconnected from the Weirwood trees. And so he's going to be a transitionary figure into a more stable, knowledge-based kind of society, actually. That is what I think Bran is going to do as king. So I think really the most we're going to get as far as magic is like the whisper that maybe it could come back, a dragon's egg or some little clue that there's magic still. But I do think this is the last hurrah for magic. So it's going to get more magical before the big conflagration. And if my moon thinking is right, then yeah. Yeah. Arya question. That's cool. So we know Arya doesn't intend up to be a lady of the castle. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Is there any chance she could end up Warden of the North? Perhaps. Just like, kind of like Aragorn at the beginning of Lord of the Rings, just sort of Arya is the Warden of the North, and she just literally wanders the forests with her wolves, and like she becomes a legend. And sometimes you might catch if you're lucky, you'll catch sight of the Arya wolf pack and the Arya forest goddess that she'll become. That would be pretty cool. I tend to think that she is actually going to possibly sail off into uncharted waters. I actually think that does make sense. There is foreshadowing for it. And I do see her as potentially being so messed up that she can't really live with people anymore. So I think her roaming the forest as a wolf goddess or journeying into uncharted lands, something like that makes sense. I think she will be kind of outcast from society. And, you know, I was talking last night about my research into the Berserkers and the Ulhednar warriors of Odin. And they essentially lived in the forest to become one with their animal spirits. And they lived lawlessly, and they foraged for food and stole for food. So I could see Arya being that kind of character. Yeah. Okay. Night, Lauren. Is the sun setting down there? Wait, no. I thought you're you're in Scotland, right? So yeah, sun is setting where you are. Very cool. Very cool. I got to remember where everyone lives. I'm getting it though. Yeah, Arya as Warg Queen of the North. Totally, yes. That would be, I'd say that's best possible outcome. Well, best possible outcome would be like marrying Gendry, but that's probably not going to happen. Yes, does Timett, son of Timett, and the Burned Men have a claim to the Vale? I like that theory, Black-Eyed Lily. I do think that Timett, son of Timett, is going to play a nice little role here in the next bit. Thank you for mentioning him. I left him out of our Vale politics. So if you don't know that theory, there's a lost Aaron heir from a generation back that could actually be Timett or Timett's father. I forget which it is, but he might have a better claim to the Vale than Harry, actually. So yeah, look that one up. I don't remember the link or who wrote it, but it is a good theory. I do like it. And of course, Timett, son of Timett, has all the Odin symbolism. He's missing one eye and he's got the burning hair and leads the Moon Men, and there's all kinds of cool stuff. He's one of he's a rolling ball of symbolism. John Moadib asked, do I think Euron went to Stygi and encountered a Lovecraftian entity that changed him? That's a good theory, actually. I definitely think he's made contact with some entities, meaning dead Night's King or Night's Queen in the Weirwood Net. And yeah, perhaps he did go to Stygi. That would be cool. I could definitely see that. Which means that George could reveal more stuff about Asshai through Euron, too. Well, Timett would look very good sitting in a Weirwood throne. I'll say that much. I don't know if he could use it, but he would look good sitting in it. Arya doesn't want to marry stupid Gendry or stupid muscles. We'll see. Yeah, Gendry forever. I'm down with it. Although I did get Gendrick started. The Gendry Edric Storm ship. I did start that on my Dane video, so I take credit for that one. Yes, okay, so Magnus is asking the big question, the $24,000 question. If I understand your theory, then Azor Ahai's actions caused the moon to crack. How do the actions of a person on Earth affect celestial bodies up in space? So it would have been calling the comet is what you need to think about. The comet cracks the moon. So what we need to do is call the comet. And we do have this magical horn that makes a sound that fills the entire world called Dragonbinder. The comets are called dragons. So perhaps Dragonbinder is Comet Binder. Perhaps it can call comets. The clues here are in the sound of Dragonbinder. It is described as basically the sound of Nissa's screaming. It's a baneful voice, a shriek, a wail, a scream, a howl, and it splits the air like a sword thrust. It's a shivering hot scream. So shivering hot, ice and fire, a scream that splits the air like a sword thrust. So think of an ice and fire scream, a sound that's actually like a sword. That is Nissa's cry that cracked the moon. Okay, the scream is actually the comet. It is the screaming comet sword that cracks the moon, but it's parallel to the sound of Nissa's scream. We've also got a dragon sword called Widow's Wail. Okay, now the dragon sword named after the cry of a woman. Arya compares Ned's ice directly to the comet, and Ned's ice becomes Widow's Wail. So again, the comet is compared to a sword and a woman's scream. Dragonbinder is a dragon horn that is like a sword and a woman's scream. So I really think that the horn is the best device. If there is actually a way to call a comet, it also might be done inside the Weirwood Net. Azor Ahai is trying to get in the Weirwood Net. That's where the trouble starts. And if you think about the idea of the celestial world tree, it represents the cosmic axis, the axis that the Earth turns on the dome of the stars appears to turn in the sky around the cosmic axis. So the cosmic axis appears like a tree. All the stars are the canopy of the tree, and it's just turning like this. I hope you guys are entertained. So if we are invading and poisoning a symbol of the cosmic axis, then that implies that we are throwing off the structure of the universe itself. We are unmooring the balance of the heavens. And that is exactly what happens during the long night. Somehow the seasons are screwed up. I'm talking about moons and moon meteors, but even if I was wrong about that, we know the seasons are screwed up. So somehow Azor Ahai's invading of the Weirwood tree is literally throwing off the celestial axis, throwing off the order of the heavens. So it's thematically layered a few ways. So that's what I've got. I've got some Weirwood power or something to do with the horn. And if you think about the Hammer of the Waters, Magnus, the Hammer of the Waters is a very obvious meteor myth. Something hammered, meaning fell, a hammer falls, right? Boom, that's what a hammer does. So something fell and hammered the waters. And actually what it did is it hammered the arm of Dorne and cracked the entire land and caused a change in the oceans and all that. So earthquakes can't do that. Meteors can. There's not an earthquake big enough. I've seen actual geological research into this, and I don't even know if that matters because it's fantasy and George can do what he wants. But the collapse of the arm of Dorne is actually way too fucking big to be the result of an earthquake. That's the bottom line. However, a meteor could do it, just scientifically and geologically speaking. So then we have all these other clues, like Bloodstone Island is one of the islands left in the Stepstone. So, you know, it's like a Bloodstone Emperor did it sign. And the Bloodstone Emperor, in case you didn't know, I think is evil Azor Ahai, same dude. So the point is, the legend of the Hammer of the Waters is that green seers committed blood sacrifice on the Isle of Faces, where all the Weirwood trees are, and this somehow dropped something from the sky, a meteor, that cracked the land. So that's like 80% of the story. That's most of my theory right there, actually. Green seers doing horrible blood magic abominations called something down from space that broke the land. And the missing piece there is Azor Ahai murdering Nissa, maybe tooting on his horn or whatever with the blood magic power, and calling the comet to break the moon, which then drops the Hammer of the Waters. So that's the whole sequence. Oh, tut tut. Somebody's done with nap time, it sounds like. Hang on a second, guys. Let me go get the birds. Goose, can you give everyone a kiss? Can you give me a kiss? Goose, can you give me a kiss? Oh, okay, or just praying for everybody. Yeah, that works too. Okay, buddy, here you go. Thanks, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. It's do-it-yourself entertainment here at Lightbringer Studios. I don't have a producer or stage hands or anything. I just have doing it myself here. So thanks for hanging tight with the little bit of dead airtime there. And yes, yeah, I got Goose is very handsome. He's a very handsome bird. He's very proud of himself. Yes, and he's happy to show Cleo his mating dance, even though Cleo's not the slightest bit interested in it at all. She's not that into you, bro. Take the message. Anyway, back to A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's see here. Why don't we pop over to Just keep tabs on everything here. Hey, good girl. Oh, do you want some pets? Okay. Yes, well, relating to animals is basically like relating to children. You've got to conjure up that sort of energy. They respond to it big time. So yeah, raise the tone of voice, become very light and playful. That's my nature anyway. So yes, my eyes do light up talking to my birds. They're my buddies. Thank you, Michael. Saving the programming here. Endgame for the Sand Snakes. Sorella Sand. Yeah, in I see what you did. You put Sorella and Alaris back to back. Okay, but yeah, Sorella Sand, who is actually Alaris the Sphinx, Tyene, Nym, and Obara. So I did talk about this, me and Quinn and I, excuse me, proper English, in the Winds of Winter predictions video called Dorn. We did a big one. That was like 50 minutes long, put a lot of thought into it. So I don't want to shortchange that one. Definitely check out the Winds of Winter predictions Dorn video. I think that Tyene and Nym are going to cause all kinds of trouble in King's Landing. It's going to be glorious. They may or may not survive, but they will definitely go out in a blaze of glory, or at least violence. So they used to be sort of a blur to me, but when we got prepped for that Winds of Winter predictions video and we read all the quotes, they started to emerge as individual characters. And to me, thanks, girl. That's they didn't need to see that, really. Okay, all right. Yeah, my desk is a little sometimes takes on the vibe of a maester's study. When I read that with all the Raven's droppings are all over the maester's scrolls, I'm like, yeah, gotta do the bird spray patrol like twice a day. Anyways, where were we? The Sand Snakes. Tyene is really interesting. She's the sweet one who has all the knives. Right? No, Tyene is the poisoner. Nymeria has the knives, I believe. But yeah, Tyene is really interesting because she's just so easy to overlook and misjudge. She's very, very sneaky. So I think, and she's operating inside the sept, right? So that's going to be, she's going to cause trouble. She's checking out. She was told to check out the High Sparrow and assess what's going on with that. So she's going to be causing trouble there, and Nymeria will be, messing with all the politics of King's Landing, and all of it's going to be sort of undermining Cersei for a while. And then what we have to see is when Fagon comes to power, how much has Arianne Martell allied the Dornish with Fagon? I would expect probably a lot, maybe a whole lot. And so, a whole lot. Again, I apologize. And so I think if any of the Sand Snakes are alive by the time Fagon comes to King's Landing, they'll probably be involved in, oh yes, okay, so here's my actual prediction. They will help Fagon and Arianne's forces take King's Landing by doing secret stabby murder shit inside King's Landing. Doesn't that make sense? Yes. So who's hotter, Nymeria or Val? Well, first of all, no, Val is the queen, but that's probably more of a variety thing, I would think. I'm really not a fan of those sort of binary choices. Really, it doesn't really make sense to me. You can appreciate all the beauty in the world. So there you go. Where were we? So yes, that's what I think is going to happen. They will help throw open the gates. They'll commit some murder and poison and stuff, and they should probably still be around because it's going to get really interesting in King's Landing when Fagon takes power, because you're going to have Darkstar show up with Dawn and maybe Obara Sand. Obara could get turned around, with those whole events with Darkstar. And then you're going to end up with, Ariane's pretty friggin' hot too. Thank you, Chief Palpatine. And confident too, which is really what makes it work. So then you have essentially all. Okay, so think about King's Landing, the court of Fagon. You've got Dark Star, Arion, some sand snakes, the Reach allies that are you know, of course the Tyrells will be there sucking up and trying to marry Marjorie to somebody else, you know. So it's going to be quite the political setup. And I would, like, if you're George Martin, like, why wouldn't you keep the sand snakes around for a while there to just throw a wrench in anything? So as a writer, you know, especially as a gardener, you keep characters around like Thoros or Nymeria Sand to solve problems for you in the main plots of the main characters. You reach a scene where something's not working, it needs another element, somebody needs to know something somehow, and then you bring in an interesting side character, repurpose them, and then they can solve a problem for you. So you keep characters around like that until the perfect moment when you need somebody to murder someone and trade a secret or whatever. So I think that's what we're going to see with Sand Snakes, stuff like that. Goose is thankfully not screaming a touch. Yes, bird kisses. Thankfully, he's not screaming. He's chill today. Appreciate that, buddy. It's a good goose. That's my good goose. What's going on, buddy? He's just kind of staring at me. All right, so here we go. Who or what was the god on Earth? The first Green Seer. Will Bran become the new god on Earth? Yeah. Mostly yes. I do think the idea of the god on Earth, let's put it this way. The clearest realization of that idea is the Green Seer. So I don't know if the first god on Earth was a Green Seer, but maybe he was. Maybe he was a green man. We do have green man clues with the lurking around that part of the world, I will say, with Lang and other things. But the more important thing is that, yes, Bran is the God Emperor for all intents and purposes. George does seem to be a Dune fan. And so there's a lot of parallels to be drawn with God Emperor Leto II and Bran, you know, definitely. Leto the Worm God, of course, that would be. And so I think that the way to think about this really is the question of mankind and like inner divinity, transcendence, and things like that. The whole idea of a god on Earth is essentially somebody who's handling the fire of the gods. So Dany is a character. She is given one version of the fire of the gods, which are the dragons. And it's up to her to handle that. Bran is being given all this tree power. It's up to him to handle that and wield it the right way. So that question of the god emperor, the god man, Euron is another god man, god emperor, but obviously he's the worst kind. So essentially George is using this fantasy idea of a god man to really talk about personal transcendence and stuff like that, because that's always what it's actually about. Hi, Cleo. I'm doing a live stream, girl. There's stuff happening. Hold on, I see somebody that just lost the privilege to comment on my channel. Where are you? Yeah. A good way to get to lose privileges commenting on my channel is to talk grim stuff about George not surviving long enough to finish. Yeah. See you later. So that's just not the energy we put out into the world, dude. You need to, like, seriously, like, Song of Ice and Fire aside, you need to look in the mirror and think about every thought and action that you do as putting energy out into the world. So when you speak things, you're kind of speaking them into existence. So think about what you think about and what you say. Hopefully this will be a lesson that you can learn, grow from this experience, my friend. Can you address this allegation that I eat birdseed? Oh, that's, I don't smoke, disgusting habit. That's what I always think about the Ace Ventura scene where he's chewing birdseed and like throwing it on the desk. Yeah, so I do need I do like nuts. I eat, like, you know, like pistachios and things like that. However, I usually don't like crack them open in my beak and hold them with my foot to eat them. So I'm not a bird. Yes. Let me check here on the PayPal. Oh, there's a PayPal question from Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Pod's Magic Cock is your official username. Okay. Other than maybe being the one to tell Jon about his mother, what do you see in the future for Howland? Well, I just had an idea as you asked me that question. How about Hand of the King for Bran Stark? Well, there's a Cleo feather floating around. You guys maybe saw that. Hand of the King for Bran Stark. Howland has knowledge of lots of things. Oh, look, it's 4:20 West Coast time. Yeah, Howland has, he's got knowledge of all kinds of things. Political stuff, green seer magic. Just seems like a wise and balanced dude. I could totally see Howland, if not Hand of the King, maybe helping Bran, maybe acting as a tutor for Bran after Bloodraven's gone. Bran's trying to figure out what the hell's happened. He's got the weird net in his head. It's a little nuts. So maybe Howland Reed can help Bran reacclimate, readjust, something like that. That would be a cool role. Let's see, what else could he do? Guys, pipe up. What do you think? Let's have some of this rosé. Steezy rosé. What else could Howland do? And I think actually Jon's going to learn about RLJ from Lyanna in his dream in the crypts. That's what I favor. But Howland might know some other stuff, like about Robert's Rebellion, that could be useful. 1 second. Might need my smoking glasses after that one. Yeah, I'm a little tired. I was up late last night, guys. I did a midnight stream. Oh, GG number 4. Nice. Hear that. I got some Grease Monkey from Seven Leaves. That's some sort of GG sour diesel cross. In any case, Cleo. Don't do that, Carl. Here, come here. Where were we? I was right about to say something profound. Where'd it go? What was it? Something profound about, go back in the chat. Oh, Howland Reed, yes. So, yeah, it could be a mentor figure for Bran. Oh, I was talking about RLJ reveal and... yeah, I don't know. I think I pretty much got most of that out. All right, so let's see here. Also, okay, well, let's think about the Isle of Faces, right? If Bran's going to go to the Isle of Faces, Howland has been to the Isle of Faces. So maybe, Bran is crippled. The Reeds have been ferrying Bran around Westeros the whole story. So maybe Howland Reed is like, oh, I will row you out to the Isle of Faces in my boat. I've done this before. I know how to do it. There's a little trick to it. You gotta offer the ravens corn at just the right time or something. So yeah, I think that would be cool. Howland rowing Bran out to the Isle of Faces. Maybe Mira's not around by this time. Hopefully she is. But yeah, I really want to see Mira reunite with Howland, get to see her dad again. That would be cool. I'm really hoping for that. Hoping for something better than what we saw on the show where Bran just kind of doesn't say goodbye to Mira, then Mira walks out and that's just it. Oh, God. Talk about shit ending for a character on the show. A great character that deserved a good ending. That was just such shit, what they did to Mira. Funny how they ruined all the female characters, especially. It's almost like they're not good at writing about women or something. In any case, Craig asks, what a treat, back-to-back live streams. Going with the bird theme, What will happen to our little bird? Will Sansa overtake Baelish, be forced to flee the Vale for her life, or will she use him as a pawn? So I think that when Sansa finally gets ready to supplant Baelish, she will then decapitate him, a la cutting the head off the giant. And so Baelish will have the tables turned on them, and then he will be dead. So he will not be used, really. It's more about Sansa slowly undermining him and gathering the strength and the allies to be able to do so. And I do think that that's going to be fun to read. Yeah, Elisa Patience chiming in on D&D. It's almost like they don't see women as people. Yeah, you could draw that conclusion, couldn't you? So I think that the Sansa stuff sometimes is a little bit slow. I think there's some really good scenes in King's Landing, to be honest. But I anticipate her Vale chapters are going to be easy reading. I think everybody will like them. I think they're going to be interesting. It's going to be, you know, George really excels at that political machination stuff that we saw in A Clash of Kings. So I would expect more Clash of Kings type politics from the Vale plot line. And I think all of Sansa's suffering and all of her experience is finally going to come into play, and she's going to be entertaining. I mean, I'm already enjoying her a lot in the Winds of Winter preview chapter because she's pulling strings and like starting to think and be calculating and, you know, sort of manipulate people like Harry the Heir, who's, you know, kind of a dope or whatever. So I think I'm looking forward to all that stuff. I think Sansa's going to be pretty kick-ass on the politics side, and her undermining of Baelish should be like master level spy versus spy games playing. Like, I think George is really going to put something into Baelish's downfall. It's going to be beautiful and poetic, I would expect. Goose sounds fired up for it. Aren't you, Goose? I don't even know if that's a hot take, really. I mean, if you look at the most prominent female characters, Cersei and Daenerys were the two most popular. With apologies to Sansa, Cersei is more of an icon. And they turned both Cersei and Daenerys into psychotic Mad Queen murderers. And then Sansa, they basically just gave her a trophy crown after ruining her character. So yeah, they suck. Say it how you want. They don't see women as people. I guess that's kind of a hot takey way to say it, but they don't understand women. They don't understand women as characters. They don't think about them as characters. Like when George gets credit for writing good female characters, which I think he does, he says, well, my secret is I view women as people just like everyone else, which is like kind of snarky, but like kind of gets to the point. Like, they're just characters who happen to have different body parts and assigned gender roles. That doesn't, they still, like, you approach them as people with hopes and dreams and fucking shit like that. So I don't think D&D do that. I think they look at women as adjuncts to men because that's their worldview. And so we see female characters essentially being shaped around the ideas of men and in service to the plots of men a lot. We see that with Brienne and Jaime, Cersei and Jaime. So yeah, I mean, you say it however you want, but like, it's not really a hot take to say that they are very bad at writing female characters. They suck at it badly. I mean, they suck at writing, period. I mean, just think about it. We haven't talked about this in a while, but guys, I'm an aspiring writer. Some of you guys are writers. D&D were given the best opportunity that a writer could ever want. Forget about the fact that they chose to not adapt the book material after about season 4. Let's say that that's okay, and that it's fine to make different choices for the TV show, and it's fine to narrow down the plot threads. Oh, that's totally fine. If they had done it well, nobody would have complained about that. So as writers, they were given the opportunity to write the ending to a great story that has a great setup and that isn't finished. What more could you want as a writer? A chance to come up with your own ending. I mean, creating the world is hard. The world's already there. The characters are there. All you have to do is make them walk and talk and do something cool. And this is what they gave us. This is what they thought of. That's embarrassing. I mean, it's embarrassing that they couldn't write a better ending on their own. Like, forget about the fact that they didn't stay true to the book or anything like that. Just took what they did. It sucked. It didn't make sense. The characters weren't consistent. The White Walkers were a disappointment. Dany goes from the self-sacrificing hero, the queen that everyone chose, who risked everything to save the North, to the insane butcher, Dragon Hitler in like 2 episodes. Anyways, I'm not going to go on and on, but like, it is, D&D deserve endless scorn. As much as they get, they deserve more. They botched the best writing opportunity that anyone's been given that I can remember. So they should be embarrassed. I hope they never work again, and let the ashes blow over their graves and let their tombstones be like dust and shit. I don't know what the Dune, like, there's some great Dune quote. I'll have to ask Quinn about, like, no one will remember you and you're like all this stuff. But anyways, whatever. Screw them. I don't read fan fiction, but I'm guessing that there's a lot of fan fiction that would have been a lot better than what they did, which essentially is fan fiction. But okay, how do we get on that topic? That's right, Goose. Tell him, Goose. Yeah, and then they were going to do a show that, no matter what they say about it, is glorifying the Confederacy. Like, fuck those guys. Yeah, and yes, yeah. And by the way, if you want like the full fleshed out, calmer arguments about Daenerys, I devoted a lot of time to setting the record straight about the true character of Daenerys Targaryen on my channel. Elisa Patience was on at least one of those live streams. And so there's a playlist called Who is the Real Daenerys Targaryen? It has 4 live streams that's basically a book by book. So there's a Game of Thrones one, all Dany's stuff in Game of Thrones, 2-hour live stream, reviewing none of the magical stuff, none of the symbolism, all based on her character choices, who she is, what her motivations are. Then we did another 2-hour live stream for Clash, Storm, and Dance, because she's not in Feast. So there's those 4. Check those out. There's no way you can watch that and come away thinking that what the show did is right. I would consent. When I looked, I knew it was wrong when I saw it. And when I did the reread and looked at Dany's stuff, there's just no question that she's the most empathetic, self-sacrificing character in the story, bar none, flat out. She constantly worries about how her power and how the Dothraki, how the dragons could hurt people. She's constantly putting her own desires aside for the greater good as best she can. The first time she gains power with the Khalasar, she uses it to protect the women that are being raped, the prisoners of war. She uses her dragons consistently over and over. Whenever she uses them, it's always to help people, to defend the weak. And she uses them against the corrupt, powerful people. It's so consistent. And to me, it's very clear where it's headed. Then I did Born to Burn the Others, which you really need to watch. It's one of my most important videos. It's basically showing how Dany's habit of burning slave masters to free slaves is really just foreshadowing Dany burning the others to free the whites, who are very much like magical slaves. They're souls that are trapped in bondage. Isn't that right, Cleo? Cleo's anger translating me right now. And so Daenerys Targaryen is born to burn the others with dragonfire. And this will free the whites from bondage and will continue her emancipation arc. It'll be climactic for her emancipation arc. So I expect she will die self-sacrificially in order to knock the others out for good, or send them back into the weirwood net, or free the whites for good, basically to end the phenomenon of whiting itself. That is Dany's destiny. And that way she will be a mother to the living and the dead, essentially, which will be the greatest realization of her mother goddess identity of all. And that is where Dany is going. So as you can tell, I feel strongly about that. So Who is the Real Daenerys Targaryen playlist has all that stuff in it, plus a couple other things. Brad says, I don't see the problem with drawing distinction and appreciating men and women's similarities and differences or turning tropes on their head, but I agree that D&D's writing of women was mishandled. I'm not sure what the first part of your comment has to do with anything that I've said here, Brad, with all respect. I didn't say there's a problem of drawing distinctions between men and women. You're having an argument that we're not actually having here. So I'd appreciate it if you, I mean, just don't do that. I mean, we could talk about gender norms all day if you want. That's a whole different conversation. But yeah, D&D definitely have issues with writing women. I think that is clear. So I do have thoughts on gender norms. I could talk about that for a while, but I don't think I'm going to go there right now. Let's see here. Bottom line is, I believe in believing people what they say about their lived experience, no matter what, bar none. And if you start there, I think you do okay with that stuff. Come here, girl. You know, one thing I will say is something I've been thinking about lately is classification, right? So gender, it can be talked about as a binary classification, male or female, or a lot of people are increasingly talking about it as a spectrum, because every man has, quote, feminine side, right? And women have a masculine side, masculine energy, whatever you want to say. And if that's the case, then it's logical that some men would have a little more feminine energy than others, and vice versa. And if that's true, then you have people that start ending up towards the middle. And now we're talking about gender norms, but fuck it. And so if everybody has that mix of male and female energy, there are inevitably going to be people in the middle zone where it's not as clear or easy to say, or as accurate to say, I'm this or I'm that. And so that is where you get non-binary people and different pronouns and things like that. So if you think about it, all classification is really like that. Classification is not an exact science. When we're talking about different kinds of animals and the branches of the animal kingdoms, like at some point it's a judgment call where you say, well, this animal is a different version of this, or it's actually a different family altogether, genus, phylum, species, whatever all that stuff is. The point is, like, anytime you're classifying, it's an inexact science. Everything is actually on a spectrum. Really nothing is black and white, hardly. So it's like, it's useful, but just remember that classification is never an exact science. I forget why I was thinking about that lately, but it applies to a lot of stuff. It's kind of a deep thought if you leave it kicking around in the back of your head. Here, step up, girl. Come here. And so there you go. That's what I have to say about that. Well, actually, no. Let me tie that together. So if you take the idea of classification being useful but inexact, and back apply it to gender norms, you kind of get what we have, okay? It's not that gender is meaningless. It's not that the words male and female are useless and need to be eliminated. It's not that. It's not what anyone's saying. It's that it's saying that they're words that are useful, but they're not always an exact description, and it's not an exact science. And so people should be more flexible and open-minded when people say, this word, man or woman, doesn't really describe me. That's really that's totally cool. That is the nature of classification and of words. Things aren't exact. It is useful to have them and to have those terms, but they can't be so rigid to where it makes your thinking like a square box with like one line in the middle. Like, that's not how shit is in the world. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm not trying to turn this into a socio-political channel, but I'm just trying to talk a little common sense, whatever. Worship the goddess. That's what I believe. So, and even with thinking about spiritual energy, like goddess energy or the divine masculine and feminine, even those terms, they're useful terms, but they're not exact. Like if you want to use different terms to think about divine energy, you absolutely can. Thinking about divine masculine and feminine is just one way to think about stuff. Like I always talk about with metaphors and esoteric concepts, all these symbols and words are just beating around the bush of things that can't be described directly. So no one description or word is ever going to be perfect for something. So yeah, shout out. Man, I need a mint. All this beer. I'm not used to drinking beer on the live streams. It's just really could use. I need some mints. I'll get some mints, guys. I'll try to get some. The ones I like aren't here. I keep looking for them and I can't find them anywhere. So I've got to maybe order them or something. I'm not sure. I have very specific taste in mints. I know it's the funny thing about me. So I'm just kind of choosy in general. So do we have any more Song of Ice and Fire questions, or have I completely lost the thread here? Let's see. Last call for questions. Let's go ahead and put that in. Last call officially. Super chat or not. Oh, well, yeah. Ben Shapiro is a total dolt. I hope we don't have any Ben Shapiro fans in the chat. I certainly hope not. What are the mints that I like? Someone's asking me. I've probably talked enough about mints, but it's the thing is that I can see what the package looks like, but I can't remember the brand of it. Which ones were they? Shit. It's okay, yeah, that's enough about mints. I could go on forever about mints, but let's we'll figure it out. So let's see here. It is okay, so they're Altoids, but it's not the flat ones. It's the ones where it's like kind of tube-like. And it's the flavor. It's the flavor. They always have the wintergreen, and I don't like those. I like the I forget which one. I'm so visual based. Sorry. I hope you all getting a kick out of this. This feels like dead air to me, but oh well. Which Starks do you think will survive the story? Well, I think Bran will. I think Sansa will. I think Jon will be undead if he's alive. I think Arya will survive, but like I said, in kind of some weird, I can't interact with you humans anymore kind of way. So that's probably where we're at. Everyone's trying to guess mints, guys. Enlightened mints. There it is. I like the mints that bring light. That's perfect. That is perfect. Oh, is there a super chat? Thank you. Let's see. Thank you. Thank you. Let me go back. Lauren, thank you guys. I really appreciate your help in helping me not let these slip by. Really need that and appreciate it. So Lauren says, transitioning human appreciates your thoughtfulness on the gender spectrum. Oh, thank you, Lauren. I'm glad I did not put my foot in my mouth. That means a lot. Thanks. I really appreciate you speaking up on that one. I do my best. I do my best. For the most part, I leave the political stuff on Twitter. That's not really, it's more social than political, I guess. That's more of a politicized social issue, to be specific. But in any case, thank you. I'm glad that worked out. Let's see here. It's always tricky when you open your mouth and start talking about the real world. Sometimes you can go wrong. You say the wrong thing. So you can't put your foot in your mouth because it's full of bird seeds. Okay. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Looks like we're right at the end here. Yeah, I do think Varys is pro Blackfire. I'm a fan of the whole Blackfire theory. I think Varys is going to be cool. Here's one from Magnus. Thanks for answering. Continuing my earlier question. What part of the Jon resurrection ritual do you think will cause the new long night? So I think I don't think that Jon's resurrection will cause the moon. So I talked about this in the Jon video. The symbolism of Jon's resurrection is essentially parallel to the ice moon explosion. Jon's resurrection is going to be like a dragon exploding out of the ice when he comes back to life. Think about the dragon's meteors exploding out of the ice moon. They're parallel things. And so a lot of the end of the world symbolism, fall of the wall symbolism, the next long night apocalypse symbolism is all tied to Jon's resurrection. So that's where this question comes from. But I think they will be coinciding, meaning there could be magic that ties them together, but Jon being raised from the dead isn't going to like break the moon or anything. I think it's going to be just a parallel event, essentially. And Jon will be the one responsible for dealing with the fallout of it, if you will. But maybe there's a more direct connection that I haven't thought of. I'm not sure. Like maybe we need a moon meteor in the north. Maybe we need moon meteor magic to raise Jon, or to like if Jon's possessed by the others, in order to get his body back or something. So there could be a link like that. But I think it's like parallel symbolism. All right, cool. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Peace, man. Yeah, the heart in conflict of itself is what matters. Absolutely. And the whole thing about symbolism is that I'm increasingly seeing, as I've spent more years on this, that the metaphysical symbolism is always mirroring somebody's heart in conflict. And so it all becomes interpersonal after a while. And that's why we get on topics like, gender identity and stuff sometimes, because what George is writing about is interpersonal stuff at the end of the day. Yes, Euron is essentially the Antichrist. Absolutely. That's a good way of describing him. Pirate Odin on Bad Acid was my first nickname for him. The Antichrist of A Song of Ice and Fire, the god of the graves and charnel pits. Yeah, that's our man. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, good, well put, Carl. I don't think of these events as directly causing each other so much as there being a cosmological conjunction that is amping up the ambient mojo and manifesting magical wackiness, as above, so below. Yeah, that's probably the best way to conceive of it on a broad spectrum. Within that context, there may be little specific links, but the bigger point is the thematic resonance, the idea of things sort of manifesting together all at the same time. Well said. Pirate Odin on Bad Acid. Yep, that's him. I don't, Lord Middlefinger, I don't know about this. You're saying that the Vikings made up unicorn horns. Do you think they were part of the influence for Skagos? I have to do some research. I've not heard of that. Cool. I like your picture though. That was cool. All right, guys. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and log off here and get right back to work on these Norse videos. I'm trying to get them out before the end of the month, or at least the first one. So watch, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you see those as soon as they come out. There's going to be 3. It's really just one video chopped into 3 parts in case you haven't heard. So yeah, look for that soon. Make sure you're subscribed. If I didn't get your question, you can leave a comment on your way out, and please do that anyway. Leave a comment below on the way out. Make sure you click like, and that's it. I love you all. Thank you for coming. Thanks for all the great questions. And God bless the narwhals. Narwhals are cool, man. I'm not gay or nothing, but narwhals kick ass.